A look at this Metasploit lab. So we're going to concentrate on enumeration in this lab. So we're going to have a look at how we can enumerate Windows machines from our Metasploit instance. So the format of what we have, so in a Windows domain we can uniquely identify objects, users, groups and so on, uniquely with an SID number. So with this we have our domain ID and we have a unique ID for the system, and at the end there's an RID which is a relative user ID. So 500 is the admin account, 501 is the guest. Those are set up by default on the system, and the first user starts at 1000, second at 1001 and so on. Okay, so we'll have a look at this, but this is a key thing to be able to identify users. So what we normally run is a domain controller, and the domain controller controls the whole of a domain, sets the security policy, and also has a common usernames and password database. So the ports that we're going to have a look at, and the ports that are typically enabled on a Windows machine, are 445 for a SMB, which is for Windows shares, and 137, which is related to our NetBIOS name server. So every machine on a network in a Windows domain has a name, and we can actually relate that to something like an IP address and so on. So that's where the NetBIOS comes in, and we can actually map devices to a name. So we say / Jupiter. That's really coming from the NetBIOS name server. Okay, so let's have a look at our lab that we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to use Metasploit to be able to examine our shares that we actually have. Okay, so let's start up our virtual machine. So we're going to start up Kali here. And then we're going to start up our Windows 7 instance. Okay, so the first part we'll use Windows 7, and then the second part we'll use Windows 2003. So we'll just get logged in here. Okay, so there's our Kali instance. And we'll just get Windows powered up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a share, which we should be able to access with the SMB protocol running on port 445. Okay, so while that's starting up, so I'll just show you how you can determine your SID on your machine. Okay, WMIC is a great way to actually get all the details from your machine. So you can see here on my machine, this is the user, and here is the SID related to it. So this is the machine ID. Now you can see 500 is for the administrator, 1000 is for the first user account, there's 501 as a guest, and then there's another one set up by the VMware adapter. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's actually log in here. And then we'll just create our share, and then we'll be able to use Metasploit. So we'll get Metasploit started up here. And we should be ready to go. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll get them onto the same network. So I'm just going to think up a network ID, network address range, and then we'll connect it. Then we'll get them connected to the same network. Okay, so let's go for an address range of 172.16. Let's go for 100.9. So our Windows box is at 172.16, 109. And then over here, let's set this one at 172.16.100.7. Okay, we just set our net mask up to 255.255.0, and we should be good to go. So 172.16, sorry, I've set that address, 172.16. Okay, so let's see if we can ping that one, 16.100.7. Good, everything's working there. And we'll try over here. We'll just ping 172.16.100.7. So it looks like we've got our connectivity. So let's check there. So this is 100.9. Okay, so we have connectivity between the two devices. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll use our first scan. So we want to go for auxiliary scanner SMB and SMB enumerated shares. Okay, we'll just check that we have the right scanner SMB enumeration shares scanner scanner enum shares use okay, we just added an I there, then we should be fine. Okay, so we need to set so we look at show options to see what we need to set at a given time, but the main one we want to set is our host, and in this case it's 172.16.100.9 is our Windows machine here, and then we'll just set our user and our password. Okay, so what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to set up our share, and we'll just bring up the C drive. Okay, so I'm just going to set that up. So I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Bill123, and then we'll just go ahead and share it. Share, and we'll let everyone read it. Read and write. There we go. Okay, so just make sure the permissions are okay on this one. So sharing, advanced sharing, share folder, everything's fine. Permissions, everyone, we're all allowed. That's great. Okay, so it should be now shared. Okay, so now what we do is we go ahead and we can run it. Okay, so you see I've just got a little typo there. the parameter is called rhosts. Okay, so don't worry about the message that you get there. It's just trying to log in. So if we actually have a look at it, there is the share that we've actually just created, bill 123. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll run Wireshark. So you can either run Wireshark from Windows or from our Kali machine. So just to save time, I'll just run it from the Windows machine. And the key thing we're looking for is really the TCP port, which is actually used. Okay, and then we'll just grab only the traffic for our network, which is 172.16.100.9. Okay, so there we are. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do it again, and this time we'll capture some traffic. Okay, so what we're looking for is the SMB traffic. Yeah. Or the TCP port. Equal to 445, and there it's there. Okay, so there's the connection between .7 and .9, and we can follow that stream, and there it is there. So you can see all the data that actually comes through. So we're seeing double characters there, E, then a dot. That's actually 16-bit ASCII, but you can see all the details come through of the machine from them. Okay, so the port that we use is 445. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll create a new user on the Windows machine, and then we'll see if we can discover that user. So what we want to do is go to our control panel. We're going to add the new user, and we'll call that bill 1234. We'll make it a standard user, and that's it. Okay, so what we'll do next is that we'll actually use our next scanner. And let's go back to the previous one that we used, and then this time we'll use enum users. Okay, so let's show our options. Okay, so let's set our remote host as 172.16.100. and I think it was .9 is our target. SMB user in case at SMB password APM. Okay, sorry, it's remote host. Okay, so there we go. So the users that we have are account administrator, bill 1234. So it's discovered our new user that we've created, and then there's no lockout tries, and then no minimum password. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we'll see if we can find the user and the username, and we'll try and log in with a known username and password. So we'll just use a login this time. Okay, so we're going to set our user to be a known user that we can log in with. And it's 172.116.9, I think. 16.100.9. Okay, so you can see it's been a success. We've managed to log in with Encase and Napier then. So the next thing we'll do is we'll set up a list of usernames and passwords. So what I'll do is I'll just call it billpass.text. I'll call it bill user first. And we'll go for administrator. Then we'll go for Napier, root, guest, test, and default. And next what we'll do is we'll go for billpass.text, and the passwords we're going for is Napier, test, guest, password, change me. Okay, so we've got two files that we've going to use. Okay, so now what we're going to do is use the next one. Is we'll actually set up the files. So if we look at our show options, so the one that we actually want is our user file here and our pass file. So set user file equal to bill user.text, set pass file as billpass.text. Okay, so that's going to try all the usernames and all the passwords together. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Okay, so we can see that some of them were failures, but other ones were successful. So root and Napier, Encase, Napier all worked, but these other ones actually didn't work. So the change me one didn't actually work there at all. Okay, so it's a bit similar to Hydra, and the way that Hydra is actually set up. Okay, so for the next part, what to do is to get someone to change the name of or the password. So let's go here, and we'll just try this account here. So we'll just create a password for it, and I'm going to go for a secret password of Edinburgh and Edinburgh. Okay, so then now we've got to actually find out which one of the passwords actually works. So what I'll do is I'll go to the passwords, and I'll just stick in Edinburgh and Glasgow and Dundee and Stirling. Okay, and we'll just do the same again, and let's see if we can guess the password time. So so here we go, and we can see there's Edinburgh and so on. So what we've got to do is to add our new user into our list. So we'll go for bill 123, bill 1234. I'll just get rid of some of these other ones just to make it easier for us to see. So that's fine. So now we go ahead and hopefully we'll be able to find Edinburgh. And there we go, there's a failure and this is a success here. Okay, so through brute force and Metasploit we've been able to determine the password for this new account that we've actually created. Okay, so for the next part what we're going to do is look at the SID number. It's very important for us to be able to discover that because much of the authorization that happens is around the SID number. Okay, so let's load up the next one. So what we're going to try and do is to be able to get our lookup for the SID. Okay, so we'll go ahead and set our host up again. You can use the arrow keys to do this if you want quicker. And there we go. Okay, so you can see here there is the name of the PC, there is the SID there, and then we can see 500 RID is the administrator, 501 guest, then we have 1000 is the first user, test is 103, count is 104, and then we have an RID of bill 123 as 105, and that's the last one that's been set up from them. So the values from 1000 onwards are the new user accounts. 500 and 501 are the ones that are automatically created on the system. Okay, so let's now look at the SMB version that we have. Okay, we just set our SMB user as encase. Set the SMB passwords as Napier. Okay, we'll bring back our hosts. There we go. Okay, so we can see it's running Windows 7, Professional, Service Pack 1, and so on. Okay, so then over here, one way that we actually find out what shares that we actually have is to use the net share command. Here's the shares that we've got on our network, and we can also use the net view if we can find out where the slashes are. Okay, so let's do a copy and paste. Okay, so I think we're 172.16.100 dots. 172.100.9, I think. Okay, so you can see we can actually look at our shares there. Okay, so we're going to go and have a look at the new folder that we've actually created. I'm going to add in a new file. And let's make a text document, and it's my secret. And then I'm going to put in my secret here. I won't let you see it. Oh well, there's them. Okay, so I've created a share. I put a file in there. So now what we do over here is that we can try to mount that share. So what we want is SMB client // 172.16.100 16.100.9, I think it was, minus U. Okay, we just need our share name, which is Bill123, which we should have already found from before. Okay, so there's the commands that you can actually use. So there's our ls, that works fine. Okay, so if we want to grab the file, then what we can do is get. Okay, so if you look at the commands that you have, so you've got get here. So get will actually get the file back from the machine. Okay, that's really quick. Now what we can do is that we can go to here. Or you can just quit. You can quit out of here and actually have a look at your file. I'll just have a little look. Okay, so it should be called My Secret, and there it's there. So My Secret, and there it's there. Okay, so we can use our client to be able to do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spin up the Windows 2003 server now. So we want this one here, and we'll just go through the same drill as before. We'll just power it up, and then open the console. And we just get logged in. So there we go. Okay, so that's our Windows 2003 instance started up. Okay, so let's see if we can set up a share now. So again, we go to our C drive. Okay, so we just create a new folder. Just do that one again, and there we go. So we'll just share it. Share with permissions, everyone can see it. That's great. Okay, so if you now go back and do what you did before, remember we had our user, the initial one that we did. That's our users. That's our shares. And then what we've got to do here, of course, is to be able to set up the computer to have to be in the same network as the other two machines. Okay, so let's set that one up there, and 192.16.100, and I'll just make that 11. Okay, so 172.16.100.11. Okay, SMB user administrator set SMB password Napier. I'll just spell that right. Okay, so you can actually see that it's Windows 2003 Service Pack 2 is what we're actually running. And okay, so we can go through some of the commands that we used before to see if we can actually determine our shares and so on. Okay, so the next part of the lab, what we'll actually do is to set up a scan. Okay, so we're going to use our scan now. Okay, so we'll just drop out of there and we'll start up again. Okay, just takes a little minute to start up. So what we can do is we can use the search function in Metasploit to be able to find the scan that we're really quite interested in. It'll find a keyword for us, and we can find the module that we need to integrate in for our scan. So what we'll find is there's a number of scans, just like Nmap. There's a SYN scan, and there's also a TCP scan for our port scan. So we're trying to determine the ports that actually open on the instances, and we can use Metasploit to do that. Okay, so we can do a search for port scan, and there we are there. So the first one we're going to do is a TCP scan, so we'll just copy that one. Okay, I'm just going to paste that in, and go for TCP scan. That's great. Okay, so now we'll set our host to be 172.16.100.9, I think it was. We'll just go ahead and have a look at that. So let's get that right. There. Okay, this is the Windows instance, so there shouldn't be too many ports actually open, but certainly what we should find is 135, 139 for the NetBIOS, and 445 will be open on the Windows machine. So there's the NetBIOS ports, and hopefully we'll see our 445 coming through. Come on. 445. Let's see 445. Okay, so while it's doing that, let's open up Wireshark and have a little look to see what we're seeing. Okay, there's 445 now. Okay, so let's target our machine. Okay, so this is a continual request for SYN ports. This is what Metasploit is doing. It's sending in lots of SYNs to them, and then only if the ports are open do we actually get a SYNAC back. Okay, so one way that we can search for that is to look for a tcp.flags.syn is equal to 1, and tcp.flags.ac is also equal to 1. So that's the SYNAC that comes back from the server. Okay, so there's a Synac. I think we've just missed the traffic for that one. Okay, so that allows us to do that, and then what we'll do is we'll set up for the other one. So this is our Windows 2003 machine. Okay, so a lot more ports open here. Look at that. 7 is open, 9, 25, there's 23, 22, 21, 53, 80, and so on. So all these ports are open on the web server. So what we'll do is that we'll have a look at our scan again. And this time we'll just start our Wireshark before we go forward. There. And then we'll just capture our traffic. There. Okay, so this is a SYN connection. Okay, so we'll just let it run for a little minute to discover the ports again. So the difference between a SYN flood and a TCP connect is that there should be a Synac coming back from the connect, but we shouldn't see that when we look at our SYN flood or our SYN scan. Okay, so hopefully we've captured enough here. So it's tcp.flags.syn is equal to 1 and tcp.flags.ack is equal to 1. There we go. Okay, so you can see that Synac came back on port 139. A Synac came back on 135, and then a Synac came back from 445, and there it's there. Okay, but what we should find is that nothing else actually came back. So we should find that there isn't a so this is for our SYN. So there isn't actually an ACK at the end. Okay, so there's our three-way handshake. So this is our TCP one. So this is our connect. So for our connect we see a SYN, a Synac, and an ACK. Okay, so SYN, Synac, and ACK, and what we've got here is our TCP scan. So the TCP scan will do the full connect. SYN, Synac, and ACK. That's the three-way handshake. Now what we'll do though is that we'll now look at the difference that we get when we use when we change it. So that's just a SYN scan. We'll just check that's the right syntax. Okay, so we'll go again. So remember, SYN, Synac, and ACK. That worked fine. So this time what will happen is that we'll only get SYN and Synac. So let's go forward, and they were there. So we'll just try that. And just let me set this. We're on the same network, so it's obviously doesn't have to be set to anything. Okay, set our host equal to 172.16.100.9, I think it was. I can go ahead. Let's get it right this time. Okay, so that's us running. So hopefully we'll see something come through. 172.16.9. Just apply that. Okay, there's all the SYNs coming through. This is what Metasploit is sending lots of sins there, and we don't have a SYNAC coming back yet from any of the ports. So when that comes through, we should be able to have a little look at it. So we're just waiting. So where are we up to? 73, 76, so it goes through in sequence. So we can tell Metasploit because it doesn't do this random thing. There's port 80 coming through. And it should get there in a little minute. Okay, we can increase the number of threads if we want to move to speed it up, but we'll just let it run just now. It's nearly there. So we're up to port 118, so it shouldn't take too long now. Okay, so oh, there we go, 135. Okay, so there's a reset ACK there. So we could, if you wanted, we could just look at the TCP port equal to 135, and we should pinpoint that connection. So there's a SYNAC, and the Metasploit sent back a reset to break the connection. So there's no ACK at the end of it. It just breaks it and doesn't go through with the full connection. Okay, but we can also look at our SYNACs again. There we go. We could follow the stream for that one. And we can have a look. There's SYNAC, and reset. Okay, so in this way we can use our Metasploit as a scanner. So the next one we'll do is to look at the NetBIOS name. So obviously a way we can actually find out the host name within inside a Windows network. So that's NB NetBIOS name. And so this time what I'll do is I'll scan for a number of addresses, 192.168.100.7.9 to 172.16.100.11. Okay, so we've got 3 hosts. So we should get there in a little minute. If you want to have a look at that, then you can obviously start up the Wireshark from your virtual instance. Okay, so it's found one there. So there's the NetBIOS name. And it's also found the other one, the Windows one there. And at .11 there's the MAC address. And they're both virtual machines, VMware. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at how we can use our scanner. Okay, so Telnet. And we'll use Telnet login. Okay, so let's show our options. Okay, so we can use our user passwords file. We can also use a user file and a password file. So let's go ahead and set up our user file. And I think that was users. That was build users. Oops. Crashed it. Okay, so I think we set up a file called build pass and build user. So let's go ahead with that. And then we'll see if we can get connected. So always, if you can, try to run Wireshark and have a look at the trace that's actually happening. You can also run TCP dump from your Kali Linux. Okay, if you want to do it like that, but Wireshark will really give you a good viewpoint on the traffic on the network. Okay, so you should find that Telnet is open on the Windows box, so that is there. Let's try and log in manually. Burst administrator. Okay, so that's me in. So I used administrator and API there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our scan. So we'll set our host to be 172.16.100.11. That's our Windows machine. We'll set the user list. User file to be bill.user.txt. Set our password file to be bill.pass.txt. I think we're good to go. Okay, so it should be trying the different usernames and passwords onto the server. And we'll see what it gives us. Obviously what can happen is that it can log out. So there we go. So it's managed to get one straight away. So it's managed to open up the shell with Telnet with administrator and Napier. And now it's obviously trying the other ones to see if they actually work from there. Okay, but what we'll do is we'll just see there's one, so that's incorrect, and I'll just keep trying them again and again. There's obviously a time. There's a timeout on it, so it won't go through as fast as maybe how we would want it. So it's trying all this one. So we'll just quit from there. Okay, so that's shown you a lab related to enumeration using Metasploit. Thank you.